This episode of The First Three Knocks is brought to you by The Traveling Ambassador. If you're looking for custom lapel pins to commemorate a special occasion or your year in the East, The Traveling Ambassador has you covered. With standard or fully customizable design options, The Traveling Ambassador is here to help you through the design process. Visit them today at www.thetravelingambassador.com to begin designing your next commemorative pin or challenge coin. On today's episode, we're celebrating a year of The First Three Knocks.
You're listening to The First Three Knocks, a Masonic podcast in the District of York, where we discuss topics for the betterment of Masonry. The opinions discussed in this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent the views of Grand Lodge or any other Masonic body. Now, here are your hosts.
Afternoon.
Oh, sorry, you're cut out there. Good afternoon, everyone. We're doing a little something different today. Obviously, with the illness going around, the coronavirus, we're recording kind of remotely. I'm at my house, Gino's at his, and Bert's at his house, and we're connected on Skype here. And I didn't queue them up properly, so I cut Bert and Gino off to begin with. But you're here now. Hey, guys.
Well, we're here now. That's what counts.
Yeah. So happy anniversary, brethren.
Happy anniversary.
1 year.
Boys.
It's a big accomplishment. Awesome.
Yeah. 1 year. 1 year on the first three knocks. I guess officially on April 2nd, when we first launched our first episode, which I sort of cringe at a little bit the first time when I go back and listen to that one.
I can't bear listening to that episode, and the scary thing is, I think that's our most popular episode.
When we were at our worst.
What were we doing, right? What were we thinking when we did that? I don't even know.
Well, we were just getting our bearings. I mean, we had just met. I had just met you guys. I didn't have a relationship with you guys prior to starting this. It was kind of just like, hey, let's jump into a podcast. And, Don said, oh, I know this guy, Steve. He's new. He can figure out the tech end, and you guys will be great on the show. And we were really tossed into it. And I didn't know you guys. And that was really kind of the second time I had sat down with you guys. So it was an interesting experience.
It was great. It's been a great year, guys. I mean, not only have we formed a much closer relationship as brothers and friends, we've had some amazing experiences.
It's been great.
The past year.
Amazing is a light word to use. Absolutely.
Yeah. What episode is this now? I mean, this will be we're over 40, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I think this is 41.
41.
Yeah, let me
41.
Double check.
That is that's impressive.
Sorry,
and
I'm wrong. This is 44. This is the 44th.
40.
episode. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Getting there.
We can't even count that high anymore. We've seen the limit of our math skills at work here. We're at the end of our abilities. But yeah, what an incredible year it's been. We've had so many great experiences and talked to a lot of great guests. I think of a Masonic value of advancing your daily education, and this podcast has given us that and so much more.
Oh yeah, the places also we've recently gone to see and poke our noses around with the Scottish Rite building. That's an episode coming up, or I think would have just come out before this one. Talking to the Grand Master was an amazing, I think, personal for me. Check mark off my Masonic, journey as far as, having the chance to sit down with him. And there are many of them. Some of the guests that we've had, like Johnny Royal out in California, and some of the guests we have coming up, and some of the things we want to do. So again, it's just been definitely a growth within our own beings, but also within our Masonic journey and education on that too. And the cool thing is I think people are liking what they're hearing because they keep coming back, and it's funny, we've been a bit busy with schedules and such, especially as of late, and we might not have a show come out on a Monday right away, but we almost have 2-3 people right away asking, is there another episode coming out? So we must be doing something right, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we're being held accountable now. Every time, we try and put out an episode every Monday. Sometimes we have to skip a week just because we can't get together and record an episode. But you always have people messaging like, "Hey, where was today's episode?" On a Monday or a Tuesday that we don't release. It's funny to see. People are holding us accountable now.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's good, and it kind of speaks to the interest out there, not only Masonically, but I know we've got a lot of listeners that are not Masons that are learning more and gaining more knowledge as well. I mean, speaking to those stats a little bit, maybe Steve, you could share with us some of this past year. How is the show going?
Well, I mean, just to give an idea to some of the new listeners, we started this podcast and it was really supposed to be a district podcast. Our district has, correct me if I'm wrong, 17 lodges. I want to say 17?
19 lodges.
19 lodges. Okay. So we have 19 lodges, and it was really supposed to be put out there for the district, kind of build that brotherhood within the district. We only were releasing the audio on YouTube through private links, and those private links were then put into our district Facebook group. So we really didn't release this stuff to the public until later, where we thought, hey, what we're talking about doesn't just pertain to our district. Let's open it up and talk to the world about it, whoever wants to talk about it. So since releasing it and since kind of broadcasting it to the world, we've had 11,700 downloads on podcast applications, and then we've had another 7,100 on YouTube. So I mean, I think those are great numbers for the first year. Looking back, I didn't expect it to grow this much and have that listenership. And other podcasts might have that in a week. But for our little tiny Masonic podcast that we just kind of threw together on a whim, I think it's a huge accomplishment for us.
Yeah, just shy of 20,000. I mean, that's really, or 19,000. That's great progress. And I think the really interesting part about those stats is not just the number of people, but the actual feedback that we receive, insight, support. That's always the best part for me. I see a lot of the messages coming in and what people are looking for and asking for. And man, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool to have that impact.
I think also for some of the takeaways that we've been getting, and whether it's worked or not, a few people have asked how to join Masonry from what we've been putting out. And that really ultimately, I think, was one of the, I would say key goals, but one of the goals that we set out, right? If people are not sure or don't know anybody to reach out with, that's great. And not that my head is any more inflated than it is, but it's kind of cool walking around, within district or even outside district, and they're like, "Hey, you guys are the First Street Knock guys? That's amazing! Nice to meet you." So it's kind of cool that we got a little traction going on there.
Yeah, it's connected us with people all over the world, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's those are great stats. More to go for. So we got a long laundry list of topics and people we want to meet with in the future and travel to different places. So we got a lot of work. We'll continue to have a lot of work to do, which is one of the beautiful parts of podcasting, certainly in the Masonic world. So guys, maybe I'll ask you both a question. What's been the most memorable experience for you in the past year?
Wow. I'm going to say most recently, we went to the Scottish Rite building, and we got to interview the past master of Barton Lodge. We got to interview, the administrator of the Scottish Rite building himself. Got to get kind of like our own tour of the place. That was pretty phenomenal. And then obviously a couple of the key guests that we've had as of late that, they're just like us. They're normal guys, but they've done some amazing things in their lives outside of Masonry, and it's been just great to connect with them and to know that they're brothers like us. So that's been something that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
I'm honestly going to have to steal my answer from Gino as well. I think our recent trip to the Scottish Rite building was amazing. I love to see that history and see that Masonry is alive and well over there. And also meeting every single person we've sat down and talked with. I've created some amazing friendships through this podcast, whether it's people on the show or listeners or whoever. It's been incredible. And it really is worldwide now, and it's really connected us. Just for instance, we started out and all of our listeners were in Canada, and over the past little while now, the majority of our listeners are in the United States. I'm looking at the stats right now, and we have 48% of our listeners in the United States, and then second is Canada with 42%. So, I mean, that's just skyrocketed. I thought, we were going to be this little tiny podcast in Canada, and here we are now, more, prevalent in the United States. And the whole experience of just coming into Masonry, starting this podcast, sitting down with the people we sat down with, like the Grand Master or Johnny Royal, or even just the average Joe everyday Masons that have done incredible things in their Masonic career, to sit down and hear those stories that you generally wouldn't hear sitting next to them. You meet them for a lodge night, you see them out traveling, and you don't get that in depth with with the discussions, right? So to sit down and have those in depth discussions, it's just been great.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I think from my perspective, I don't have one specific experience that was the one. The part that has struck me in the past year is along the lines of what you spoke of, Steve. It's just sitting down with these people one-on-one. You get a much more rich, intimate, deeper conversation. And while we're sitting down with these folks, we're learning. Right? Like we learn our Masonic values through ritual and attending lodge and being around Masons. But when you get into these deeper, richer conversations with some really experienced Masons with incredible backgrounds, man, how cool is that for us? Like on a personal front, I've learned so much. Some of the lessons from Masonry have become so deeply entrenched from that experience of sitting down with these people and having these conversations. So I very much cherish that part of it. I think that's probably my biggest motivator now is really having the opportunity to connect with people in a different way.
And I think,
it goes back to, sorry, Steve, when you join Masonry and some of the things they talk about, traveling is a super important thing. Well, we've taken travel to a whole nother level with the podcast. And like you said, Bert, like you said, Steve, you really get that intimate one-on-one conversation with these guys. And so, again, part of our success in Masonry in this particular journey in the podcast has been that travel,
Mm. Yeah, it's critically important. And even an encouragement for folks who aren't doing a podcast. The benefit of traveling is tremendous.
100%.
I think Steve Sprott is the best example we have. He comes in as a relatively new Mason, now Master Mason, who's very much earned his achievement. But man, he's met a lot of people. And that's
I've been extremely lucky. What EA gets to sit down with the Grand Master and have a conversation with the Grand Master, or sit down with all these accomplished Masons, masters of lodges and DGGMs from all around. I mean, I've just been incredibly lucky, and it's definitely excelled my Masonic career pretty swiftly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, shout out to Don for putting you in with us as well. Yeah. So again, let's pump those tires. Today's the day we're allowed to do it.
That's a good point, Gino. We exist because of the support from York District and specifically the Don Kemble and the social committee, Scott Rickman, past DDGM, and our current DDGM Al Dresser supporting. That gave us a great start. Yep. To carry on this path. And one of the things that's sort of on my mind, and maybe our listeners too, is what's next. Where are we heading? What's coming down the pipe? What do we have planned? Do you guys want to share a little bit of that?
I think, Steve, why don't you go there? I know you got some ambitious ideas.
I don't want to give too much away right off the bat. I think we got to keep people guessing and wanting more. But we have some pretty great guests lined up coming up, and I hope we're going to be traveling more, and I think that we will plan to travel more and go to other districts and maybe even outside of the country in the next year, hopefully. Maybe we'll take some trips down to the States if we can arrange a little bit of that.
Well, I was just going to say road trips and maybe even flights out to other areas of the world. And, again, Masonry is a global aspect, and it is pretty much everywhere in the world. And I've heard some amazing stories of other Masons who've traveled to places like Jamaica, to Cuba, to what was it? India was one that was pretty cool. A Mason in India went to visit and got an entire grand tour of places that the normal person wouldn't be able to go the way he did.
Wow.
Italy even has some wonderful places to go to. So, ambitious ideas, I think so. But I think we got to dream big to reach for those stars all the time. And who's to stop us? Nobody, right?
Yep, definitely something to work towards.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, before we go any further, I did want to say that over this time, we've had a lot of phone calls, obviously going back and forth with family and friends, and not being able to kind of leave our houses because this crazy virus. But we did get a few phone calls from people about the podcast. They found out it was our first year, our anniversary. So I'm going to take a second and play a couple messages here.
Awesome.
Hi, this is Mark Grumpy Vitelli of the Widow Sons Durham chapter.
This is George calling from Maple Lodge 54.
First 3 knocks. Congratulations on 1 year of podcasting. Scott Hamill.
Hey, Steve Bertangino. It's Don Kemble.
Scott Rickman here.
I just want to congratulate the first 3 knocks on their first year podcast. They've been fantastic. It was great to be on the show.
Congratulations on a year anniversary filled with success and brotherly love, relief, and truth.
The work you've done, the opportunities you've brought, the knowledge you've shared have just been absolutely incredible. It's been an absolute honor and privilege to be a part of the show.
What do you get when you bring together a past master, a senior deacon, and an entered apprentice? When all are as passionate about the craft as worshipful brother Bert Tellier, brother Gino Scovio, and brother Steve Sprott, the results are amazing. The work you 3 have done on our podcast and other social media platforms has opened the eyes of not only our district, but also our jurisdiction and even beyond.
Thanks so much for increasing our daily advancement in Masonic knowledge.
Really appreciated learning in this journey and, just walking me through all the things. I'm already starting to prep for becoming a Freemason.
Keep up the good work, guys, and hope to hear a lot more great content in the future.
Hey, this is the App Refreshment guy saying congratulations on your first year. Everybody say hey.
Congratulations, guys. Hey, when I'm not listening to my own podcast, I'm listening to the first 3 knocks. This is Marty with App Refreshment. Dude, you guys killing it, and I love it, and congratulations.
This is Wes. Congratulations again, guys.
This is Yoshi. Have a good time. I really love your show. This is Brock. Congratulations, guys. Keep up that good work, man. I listen all the time.
Wow.
That's incredible, Steve.
Way to go.
You pull out another surprise, brother.
It was a birthday surprise from Steve Sprott. A lot of great...
tears in my eyes there on that one.
We made Gino cry. There we go.
You did.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult, though.
No, it's not.
Well, that's an awesome ending to our 1 year anniversary show. Happy birthday, brethren.
Happy birthday, guys.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The First 3 Knocks. Happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again.